I'm great, yes. I've got my Berliner, and it tells me that I'm wonderful.
Welcome, Morgan.
Thank you, it's great to be here.
Nice to meet you here in Berlin.
Yeah, you too.
Is it your first visit?
It's not actually, it's my second time in Berlin.
Okay.
Yep, I came here to play solo in 2019, and so it's my first time coming back since COVID and all that, and with the full band as well.
You are Australian, but you live in Nashville, Tennessee?
Yes.
Is it right?
Yes. Yeah.
Was it always your plan to live and work in the home of country music?
I don't think it was always my plan to be in Nashville, but the first time I went to Nashville, I think from then on it was the plan. For anyone that makes music, if you go to that town, it's just so unique. And I think it's unique because of the community there. If you start to meet some of the songwriters and you start to become part of that collaborative thing that makes Nashville great, it's pretty hard to not want to be there all the time as a songwriter. So I think from then on I knew, like, I went the first time in 2008, and then I went back a few times, and then by 2014 I knew, like, I need to go, and I've lived there for the last 8 years.
Country music isn't the first thing that comes to mind when you think of Australia. How did your love for country music come about? Yeah,
well, it's interesting because country music has just exploded in Australia over the last 10 or 15 years. And my parents grew up in the country, and you grow up listening to your parents' records, and there's a lot of country music there. So, I mean, I didn't know it was country music when I was a kid, but we would listen to Led Zeppelin 4 and then go straight to Garth Brooks' greatest hits, and then we go back to Dire Straits, and then back to Glenn Campbell, and then to the Eagles, and then back to the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and it was just part of my childhood without even knowing. And as I started to discover my own music, I sort of fell in love with bands like the Foo Fighters and Silverchair, but at the same time I was discovering Keith Urban and Brad Paisley as well. And I played in bands a lot as a kid and through my teenage years and 20s, and it all just started to sound country. The way that I sang, the way that I approached things, maybe just from growing up on that kind of music. And so Keith Urban and Brad Paisley were the two that were like, oh, well, my God, where did that come from? Read the back of the CD and it always says Nashville, Tennessee. And so that was probably the first kind of thing that took my attention to that town specifically.
Are the two musicians your idols?
Yeah, I mean, they certainly were, and they probably still are. I mean, we spent a lot of last year on the road with Brad Paisley, and every night we're watching the show, and every night I'm still trying to learn to play like Brad Paisley, which is a cool thing to still have. That excites me to want to play music more and be better, and yeah, watching him still does that for me.
How would you describe your own music style? Country pop, country rock, urban country? What is your music style?
Yeah, I think my music definitely takes inspiration from a lot of different places. I think definitely coming from Australia has a different energy about it. I'm not really sure what word I would use to describe that, but all my songs start with an acoustic guitar. That's the main thing that I think is important to me. And I think if you go and listen to my records, they all start with an acoustic guitar something. And where it goes from there, I think, is the beauty of music. I don't think there's any rules. I don't impose rules on myself in that way anyway. So yeah, we'll see what the next song sounds like.
My next question, where do you find your inspiration for your songs? For example, for your single, Over For You.
Mm-hmm. Man, I've always found inspiration just from my real life. I think, when I was younger, when I was starting to write songs when I was 13 and 14 and 15, I would make up stories in my head, and write them down. But yeah, as I got older, I realized that the other thing about Nashville is too, which as inspiring as it is to be around all those great people, it's also intimidating, right? Because everyone's so good. It's the best person in every town around the world goes to this town to do it. And so I think the more time you spend somewhere like that, the more you realize the uniqueness of your story is the best thing that you can bring. And so over the last 5, 6, 7 years, I've really just been trying to put myself and my own stories into these songs. And Over For You is no different to that. It's just my unique experience of what I was going through at the time. And it's been amazing, specifically with that song, to see the way other people have reacted to that and connected with that song on their own journey. And that's really meant a lot.
I saw the live video from the song. You played on the stage only with piano,
Yeah.
and 25,000 people were in the
Yeah.
arena.
Yeah.
Was it your biggest show?
Yeah, that was at the CMC Rocks Festival in Australia. It was the first time I played Over For You live, and yeah, I mean, I'd only written it the week before, so if you see that video, it's actually in a different key to the song that is released because I played the wrong thing in that concert. But yeah, again, that was just like one of those moments that I wouldn't take it back, but there was just no way to plan that. Like if I tried to recreate something like that, it was just a very unique moment. It's the biggest show of my career in a festival that I grew up playing at, and felt like a safe place to share something brand new.
What is easier for you, to play in a small club like today in the
Right.
Franz Club, or in front of 20,000 people? What is easier?
I don't know if easier would be a word. They're definitely different. They're different, and I love them both, but I will say this is the kind of show that I grew up going to in my hometown. It was a club like this. It was called the Cambridge Hotel, and it was another place called the Palais Theatre. And this is the feeling of a show that made me want to do this. And I know I talked to Mitchell about this a lot the last few days. Like, these are the kind of rooms he grew up playing too. And when you grow up playing those kind of rooms, like, that's it. That's the goal, to be playing those kind of rooms. And though we get to play bigger ones, you know, in other parts of the world, it is super fun to be here with the people that come to these shows. Like, I feel like we're all in on something, and it's a really special thing happening in Germany at the moment. So yeah, the place we played in Munich last night, the Strom, was unreal, and this place is great too. It's the same place I played in 2019, so I'm stoked to be back.
You have also a second job. You have a podcast on Apple Music.
Oh yeah, I did that for a year and a half. I'm not doing that anymore. No.
Oh, okay.
But we did it for a year and a half, and I'm very proud of it. It still lives up there. You can go check it out, all the episodes, and it was about country music all over the world. And I had a great time discovering different artists from all over the world doing that. Especially while the world was shut down. That was a really fun, creative outlet to to discover cool stuff and share some cool stuff too.
What was your best conversation?
My best conversation. I really enjoyed the conversation that I had with Busby Maru, which is an Australian duo, and I really enjoyed the conversation I had with Jaron Johnson from the Cadillac 3. Because he doesn't take anything seriously, and it was hilarious. There were so many though, and Kip Moore too. Does he do stuff in Germany? Yeah. He's great, and I think he has a very worldly perspective on music, and he's one of those guys that, like, you see the ones that come over here, like Brad Paisley, he'll keep coming back, and Kip is one of those guys that keeps coming back, and I aspire to be one of those artists that keeps coming back and really building something in a place like Berlin or Munich or Hamburg or wherever.
At last, let's take a look into the future. Now you're on tour in Europe, and what comes next?
Yeah, we do the Netherlands, and we have one more show in Germany after this, in Cologne, and then we do the UK, we do the C2C Festival, and then we're doing a couple of months on the road in the US with Brett Young, which is going to be great, and we'll get some more international stuff after that too that just hasn't been announced quite yet. If I tell you right now, I'll get the dates wrong and probably get in trouble, so I won't do that, but lots to look forward to, lots of long plane flights.
This was my last question. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, mate. It was really nice chatting to you.
Good luck for today.
Thank you.
For the show and for your plans.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on your show.